Hey everyone, Alex here, and welcome to a new video. Finally, a haircut. And my hair is in absolute fucking shock, and it doesn't know what to do because it has literally not been cut for 8 months. Um, and for those of you without gray hair, which is probably a majority of you, um, the texture of gray hair grows in such that it's very coarse. So this grows out, this grows up. And I had been cutting it at home. It's like it just doesn't want to do anything. It's like it's out of its world. And even the barber, in cutting it, had noticed that I had been doing stuff to it at home, and he's like, it's all different lengths. So he's like, basically the only thing I can do at this point, which I didn't really know was a thing. He had recommended, he's like, I'm gonna cut it the best I can now to balance it, but you're gonna have to get it cut again in another couple of weeks because your part, which everybody naturally has one, mine's normally on the side, is like all over the place. It's like doing this. So he's like, just one side's gonna be longer because we're trying to recreate the part. Don't panic. Plus I have gray hair, so it even looks like it, but it's really not. It's just gray hair just. But anyway, oh, it feels so much better now, and I feel like I look younger and not as in pain. But welcome to an all-American pickup video. And we got a lot going on this month, which is why I'm filming this one late. And even then, the journal entry video is going to come late too, just because a lot of stuff going on, but we'll discuss it then. So, a lot of pre-order stuff came in yet again. And there's quite a lot to get through, to say the least. So let's just kick it off. From Limited Run, for my stupid addiction to collecting these Shockbox replicas, we finally got Fatal Fury Battle Archives Volume 2 and the Art of Fighting Anthology. These are just really, I mean, all these essentially are just the PS2 games, but these two on the PS2 were, I mean, I love Fatal Fury, but Garo Mark of the Wolves is like my thing. Art of Fighting, I never really played as much. To me, I always looked at it as it was King of Fighters and Fatal Fury. And then all of a sudden Art of Fighting showed up, and I never really touched it as much. King of Fighters obviously the most for me, but never touched it as much. But in my quest to collect all these stupid things, I picked this one up, but now they're doing Neo Geo Pocket Colors, so that's even worse, to say the least. Now on the Vita, yeah, remember that shit? Two pre-orders from PlayAsia came in. I got Unmetal, which looks to be a sort of, I'll say, chibi-ish Metal Gear sort of third-person action game, kind of like the original Metal Gear on NES. So this looked really interesting. So I got a copy for myself as well as a copy of Synergia, which is sort of a, sorry about the glare, which is sort of a visual novel. Let me do this, maybe that'll help. Yeah, there you go, which is sort of a visual novel on the Vita. So both, I think this is also available on the Switch digitally. Unmetal, I'm not so sure, but I find it funny how PlayAsia is still putting out Vita games, and as a matter of fact, they shadow dropped like 2 shooters the other day. Aqua Kitty DX and Takotan or Takoyaki, something like that. Man, I love Takoyaki. Something like that. Both shooters. They were sold out before I even knew they were a thing. Video Games Plus still had copies, but they're probably long gone now as well. Now, we also have some, we'll say, quote-unquote retro games. Well, actually, one of them is technically retro. A copy of the Lost Vikings Part 2, Norse by Northwest. This is not sealed. This I purchased used from East Starland, and they just, they shrink wrap them. So, Norse by Northwest is interesting because it was released on the PlayStation, it was released on the Super Nintendo, and it was released on the Sega Saturn. I have the Lost Vikings 1 on the Super Nintendo, so my original plan was just to get Lost Vikings 2 on the Super Nintendo and keep everything together. However, with the goings on of retro games these days, it's And pricing, pretty much I just decided, you know what, fuck that noise. We're just going to get the cheapest one we can get. And this, if I remember right, was I think 28 or 32. It was something along those lines. But at the time when I was looking more actively, the Super Nintendo version was pushing like 40 to 50. I don't know what it looks like now. It could have probably, knowing my luck, it probably went down because it seems like every time I import something, it gets a localized release. Now on the DS, I picked up a somewhat faded copy of the Glory of Heracles. So this game is it's a long-running RPG series in Japan since the Famicom days, actually, based around Greek mythology and Heracles. Who would have thunk it? This came out in the States, and I think this is the only one we ever received. There's a sticker here on the back, and I'm trying to pull off so you can see the artwork a little bit more. But pretty much just like your standard like turn-based RPG, but in a Greek mythology setting. And for those of you who don't know, I actually really do like Greek mythology. I've always found it interesting. And I have a lot to say about Phoenix Rising because I did finish that, but that'll be in the next video. But this I've been looking for, not even for a while, just more recently, because I think a fan translation of another one came to my attention. I was like, ooh, I should really check this out. And with the way DS prices are going these days, I was thinking, okay, I gotta get on this while the getting is good. And this has already climbed upwards of 20 bucks, which I wasn't willing to pay, knowing that I used to see it brand new at GameStop for $7.99. So I finally found a used version, which is this one, and I think I got it for 11 or 12 bucks after shipping, off of a best offer. And I didn't even want to pay that. Which is, it's pretty sad to think, but, a lot of people say it's not really the best, but if you're a fan of the mythology and the mythos behind it, it's definitely something you'll enjoy. Now, I notice how I always say now when I move on to the next thing. Let's see, we do have a PS5 game in here. We have two PS5 games in here, so we'll push those to the bottom. On the PS4, I picked up a Japanese copy of Forgotten Anne. I really enjoy playing this on the Switch. I played this a few months ago. I really thought of this as sort of almost like a Studio Ghibli film. Pretty much, I'll recap it briefly. Forgotten Anne is about a girl named Anne. It's a puzzle platformer. It's all, I want to say, meticulously animated, but it really isn't. There are some missing frames in there. I think that's by design. But it really gives you a Ghibli aesthetic because Anne is basically in I guess you could say, a land of things forgotten, right? So case in point, the idea is somebody loses a sock. Where'd the sock go? It goes into the land of the forgotten. Anne is a human, a girl who was born and forgotten. And basically, it's her adventures throughout this time, throughout this land, and trying to get back home. It's really, really, really cool. I really love the story. It has so much of like a 90s anime film plot that it is excellent. The music is ridiculous too. It's beautifully orchestrated. I think it was the National Finnish Orchestra or the Swedish Orchestra. It's one or the other, but really good game. I think this was a Kickstarter originally. And the reason why I went with the Japanese version is because the limited run versions are just like way too much money. And this I got off of PlayAsia for like $30, but I combined it with a few other things because they were doing a free shipping promo some time ago. So I actually ordered this maybe I think 2 months ago and I just got it, but I knew I was going to get it and I had already finished it on the Switch. I really, really recommend it, especially if you're a fan of traditional animation. I really recommend it, but if you like puzzle platformers, that's really the go-to on this one. Also picked up a copy of Hellpoint, or as people have called it, Dark Souls in Space. I haven't played it yet, but I was really waiting for it to go down in price. I ended up getting this used off of GameFly for 20 bucks. The reason why is, on Steam, it reviewed really well. A lot of people liked it, but I can't tell if it's more people were starved for a new Dark Souls style game, or they wanted another Dead Space. And this is, I guess, kind of a combination of the two. Now this came with stickers. Fight and Rage. This is a beat 'em up that I played on Steam years ago. And to find out it was getting a physical copy really, really excited me. There's some choice artwork here on the back that I don't know if the people of YouTube will like, but pretty much 3 characters, a anthropomorphic bull, a very sexy girl, and there's some other one I forgot, but it's in a sort of 16-bit aesthetic, very arcadey, lots of neon colors, very stylized, super duper fun. The combo system isn't really the deepest thing, I'll say, but it definitely wants you to bounce if in terms of combos. Super good. So good, I have it on Steam. I've recommended it to everybody who loves beat 'em ups. I have it digitally on the Switch, and I got it physically here on the PS4 because of frame rate. And I figure 1 to 3 players co-op, perfect. I don't know if it has any boosts for the bippity boppity boo, the PS5. I'm not really sure, but if you haven't played Fight and Rage and you like beat 'em ups, you gotta check this one out. It feels so good. Now, where is the other one? Okay, here we go. This is also not new. It's a physical copy of Brothers on the PS4. So, fuck the Oscars guy, who I never remember the name of, Joseph something or another. I'm still playing through It Takes Two with the fiance. It's taking a lot longer than I thought, but I've always enjoyed his games because he always tries to employ some sort of cooperative gameplay. Brothers, in this case, it's more of like a twin stick. One stick controls one brother, and then the other stick controls the other. Then we have A Way Out, which I played with Stevo Supremo, many moons ago. And now I'm playing It Takes Two with my fiance. And It Takes Two is ridiculously much better than A Way Out, but I really enjoyed A Way Out. But I like the storytelling behind his games, but I also think he suffers from a little bit of that David Cage-ism, where he wants to make a movie, but he's doing it through games. It works for him, I think. David Cage, I'm playing Fahrenheit, and that's another story. If that gets finished before the end of the month, I'll talk about it when I finish. But yeah, you can tell that's definitely one of the first Quantic Dream games. Not counting Nomad. Alt Deus Beyond Chronos. So, Tokyo Chronos was a visual novel I played on the PSVR during the lockdown, and it was very strange. It was originally a Kickstarter game, and I think it had some of the alumni from like 999 and everything else. And that was part of the marketing ploy, and if Ballin Wonderland has proved anything, it really doesn't matter how much of a genius you were back in the day. Lightning in a bottle is lightning in a bottle. And Tokyo Chronos had a lot of interesting things going for it, especially the VR part, because it really encouraged you to look around and try to piece together what was going on. But it was also, I would say, somewhat awkward. I think it's also on Oculus and Steam, if I'm not mistaken. It probably runs better there, too. It did not have English voice acting. Alt Deus does, apparently. But reading a visual novel in a VR space is very exhausting and taxing because your eyes are getting stimulated with the VR headset. You have the weight, and you're basically just sitting there like this the whole time, just hitting buttons to see what's going on, looking around the environment. It's really cool and it's really immersive, but the story of this game was so... Excuse me. I want to say it was more... So basically the whole premise is a bunch of kids get stuck in Tokyo with no other people. So you really only have, I think it was 7 or 8 characters to interact with, and there's different paths. You finish it once, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. But ultimately, you're really just seeing the same story from different perspectives until eventually you get the true ending, which is part of the course for a visual novel. But in a VR perspective, I'm not wearing that thing for 30 hours. And I think the original runtime I had was about 8 or 10. And at that point, there's only so much you can do in terms of character development. And the story is very out there. So when it comes to the character development, the development stops for the sake of going out there. But then when you replay it, you get the development, but you don't go out there. And it just got to be too much. But guess what? I enjoyed it enough where I wanted to take a look and see what happens in this one. And From what I understand, they've improved on it a lot. The environments are a lot more somewhat interactive, and the voice acting, people have said, has definitely helped with the visual fatigue between the VR and just the constant reading. On the PS5, I picked up a physical copy of Void Terrarium Plus Plus. I have this on the Switch. I haven't played it yet, but this actually has some extra stuff in it, and it was a budget title. It was $40. Basically, it's, from what I understand, it's mostly a I guess you could say like what's it called? Like a raising sim and a roguelike. Art style to me looks very stylized. It looks very much like the Yomawari folks. I think it is. I think it's the same art designer, actually. It looks really cool, and seeing on the PS5 and just reading about like the saturation and everything else that they did with the PS5 with the extra horsepower really makes me interested, because we're kind of sort of starved for PS5 games, but then you play something like this bad boy and you feel like it's totally worth it. This is a very, very strong contender for my game of the year right now. Resident Evil Village was phenomenal. Day one purchase for me. I got the Steelbook from Best Buy as well. A very good lead, I have to be vague here, a very good follow-up, rather, to Resident Evil 7. I really like the way that this alleged trilogy is going. I also like the fact that this game really does a lot of callbacks to the previous Resident Evil games, while at the same time pushing it forward and doing something new. The story starts off kind of like, okay, kind of action movie plot, but the deeper you go, I gotta save it, but if you're a longtime Resident Evil fan, you're gonna like where this is going. I like it, at least. I feel like even though Capcom is trying to do something new, they haven't forgotten the past, unlike everything else with certain things. But it's an excellent game. PS5 gets very good visuals. I want to say decent. HDR, I really, other than a few scenes, I couldn't really pick it up. But you get 60 frames per second, and that's very helpful, because there is a lot of action going on in this game. If you finished it, you know what I'm talking about. But I will say one thing, no rocket launcher. A little bit of a spoiler, but there's no rocket launcher again. I wonder why that is. On the Switch, we got the collector's edition of Crypt of the Necrodancer. Now, I have had this digitally for some time. I have never beaten this game. I will probably never fucking beat this game. And I absolutely hate it. But I always play it from time to time, even for 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes I push it for upwards of half an hour. I can't beat the bosses at all, period. Like, I just can't. For whatever reason, I always get fucking hosed at the end. But I love the music in this game. It is excellent. It's outstanding. And finding out I was getting a physical copy after Cadence of Hyrule actually got me really excited. To find out it's coming with this special edition, is this technically going to be shelf candy? Yes. But that's really just because I appreciate what this game has been doing for the several years it's been available on other platforms. And this comes with, you can see here, a steelbook, soundtrack, a cloth, which I'll probably need to wipe off my head, as well as, where is the other thing? Fold-out manual, which is whatever, and chicken pin, and the game itself. But the soundtrack is really where it's at, because there's a lot of excellent music in this game from a lot of excellent musicians. But I really just, I'll never fucking beat it. That's the problem. I could beat Cadence of Hyrule, no problem, which is a much easier game. But this, I don't think I'll ever beat it. Limited Run came through with a few things. These are all out of order at this point. Panzer Paladin came in. I know Johnny had sung praises about this from all. This is from the Tribute Games people, like, that made, what was that damn game called? It was like a Metal Slug hack. Anyway, I can't remember, but you play as superhero pilots around a mech in an 8-bit aesthetic, and Power Glove did the theme song for this, so you gotta go with that. Rivals of the Ether, this is kind of like I want to say like an Arena Smash Brothers-ish sort of game. I played this on Steam a long time ago, and I really enjoyed it, but nobody had it. So when I heard about this, and this had all the other characters that I never bothered to buy, I thought, why not? Let's go for it. This really needs no introduction. This is the DX of the Mysterious trilogy from Atelier. It has Sophie, it has Lydian Sewell, and it has Fierce. This is actually very expensive. This was 90 bucks. You can get from PlayAsia. All the DLC is in there. You also get a soundtrack. Now, the whole thing with the whole spiel for this was I had actually sold my PS4 physical versions because these are DX versions. And honestly, at this point, with the Atelier games, and given the fact that they were also spreading off of the Vita versions, and the DX versions cleaned up what was fucked up in Lydia and Sewell, I believe, I decided to part ways with my physicals because I just don't need the duplicates. So I sold 2 of them, but the last one of them I had was sealed because I just never opened it. And I think I mentioned this in the last video, but you can figure it out. That basically paid for this and then some. But I'm looking forward to getting into these. I just have to finish the Dust trilogy. I think I'm on the second entry of that. Now this game is a SD Gundam game. I think I showed in the last one, but I can't remember. SD Gundam Generation Genesis. I had this on the Vita, which was known at the time as being a double cart Vita game, so that was what was unique about it. I parted ways with it. You know, it basically paid for this mostly, and this has all the DLC and everything else on it. Quick cut because the camera was starting to go a little funky. Physical copy of Island. This has been available on Steam for a very long time, and this is on the VN database as one of the best visual novels to play about a group of kids lost on an island. You know, mysterious nonsense ensues. It's a VN. I can't really talk about it, but look it up. It's from Frontwing. They are the ones who kind of inherited Sharon no Kuni, I think. So it's I still don't know what's going on with that, but I was gonna get this on Steam. It never goes on sale. I think the most it ever went on sale was 5%, which I refused to. But finding out about physical, this came out this past April, so I jumped on it. Neversong and Pinstripe. This is a dual pack from the same developer of 2 puzzle platformers. I haven't played Neversong. Pinstripe I have played before. It is very... The story behind it's actually really good if you're into puzzle platformers. I didn't finish it. Basically, I found out about this double pack and I decided I'd come back to revisit it. But they're very stylized. Pinstripe is at least. It's not very long though, so the fact that this is a double pack actually makes it a little bit less of a hard pill to swallow in terms of price. But they're very stylized. They're very deep. I'll put it to you this way: if you played Limbo and you spend a lot of time looking up all the lore to try to figure out what exactly happened or inside, very similar, but a little bit more obvious, but just as dark. Scourgebringer, I ordered this a while back, but I combined it with a few things. This is like one of those 8-bit Celeste style precision platformers, but this is more action oriented with a little bit of a roguelike element, Metroid style gameplay. I think it's on Game Pass right now, if I'm not mistaken. I played the demo and I really enjoyed it. Rolling Thunder plus Overpower. This is the Japanese version. I think Nicholas is getting this. I can't remember, but I had played this and finished it several months ago, and this was one of the shooters that I think... what was the name of that company? It was a limited run-ish sort of company. Basically, the plan was they would take pre-orders until they hit a minimum order amount. So that way, if, you know, they would say 10,000 people ordered, they would order 10,000, right? And then it would be forever limited. I was up for pre-order for like 6 years or something, and nobody ever jumped in on it. So, or people did, but not enough. So eventually they just closed shop altogether. And they even had I think they had tried to rebrand themselves at one point, but it really did nothing. I was personally going to wait until it was almost ready. But then that fell through. And then this, I think Mebius is the developer, and they just direct published it themselves. Rolling Gunner is interesting because, you know how, like with some shooters like your Thunder Forces, you can shoot front and back. This one you actually control the guns. That's why it's called Rolling Gunner. It's very interesting. I don't want to say it's interesting. And I also don't want to say it's challenging because mechanically it's really sound and it's really fun. But after a while, like when you die, you get frustrated because just the gun doesn't roll fast enough. Star Renegades. This took this is the Japanese version, and I believe we're getting a copy through Strictly Limited. Who, by the way, I gotta say, there's like literally no reason to order from Strictly Limited anymore. Their partnership store, everything comes out before then, and most of the time there's really no fucking difference. I'm still waiting for the Turrican games, and they said they're actually adding in a special feature that's specific to them. Whoop de fucking do. Like, at this point, I don't. They've had my money on that for like a year. I may as well just buy the standard release from Amazon. But anyway, Star Renegades. I played a little bit of this on Game Pass. It's a roguelike sort of strategy RPG, not strategy, turn-based RPG thing. Some rogue elements. I'm not so. Apparently, it ran like garbage on the Switch, which is why this took so long to come out. Because they wanted to have it fixed up. And they finally got it, and I've really just been waiting to proceed with it because it's not something I could sit and play on the TV without falling asleep. And it's just due to the nature of the game itself. All right, Grizia of 1 through 5, also from Frontwing. This is pretty much a compilation of the 5, I guess you could say, mini visual novels on the Phantom Trigger storyline. This combines 1 through 5. You can buy them a la carte on the eShop. I think it's like 15 or 16 bucks each, and I think the first one is less, maybe like 10, but this was 60. So it kind of balanced out. I think I ended up getting 4 and 5 for free, if you think of it that way. These two are Pixelheart games. I got Golden Force and Tanuki Justice. I do know that Video Games New York, through their VGP label, also made these games, but these just happened to be released quicker. They were on PlayAsia, and they had free shipping, and I don't have to pay tax. So I went with that because I really just wanted to play them. This is more of like an arcade run and gun style game, which to me this looked really, really fun. People have said it is actually really, really fun, but it's very short. And then Golden Forest just looks like a pirate version of a Shantae game. So I was like, I gotta get in on this. And everybody said it's really good. Especially the fact that, you know, it's retro inspired with a purpose. It's not just retro inspired to get sales. Raiden 4 Cross the Mikado remix. Basically remixes of Raiden music. With the Raiden series, this is where it gets weird. I'm not the biggest Raiden fan, but Raiden 4 is my favorite. And I had that on the 360 up until some time ago, and hearing about this on the Switch, I had to get it. I think Raiden 4, for me, like when I had played it when I got my 360, it was like the perfect time because I was into shooters. And I must have score attacked this probably for a good month and a half. So I probably forgot everything at this point, but out of all of them, this is easily my favorite, second to Fighters Aces 2. But 5 is fucking boring. But this is the music in this is really good, and I'm excited to hear these remixes. Now this I had repurchased only because I thought if I'm getting them all on the Switch, I may as well get Nelky and the Legendary Alchemist. So this is interesting because this is more of like a town sim within the Atelier universe. And a lot of people say it's basically just a menu simulator. Some people thought it was really going to be like a full-blown RPG, and it's not. I knew that going in. But watching gameplay, it just didn't seem exciting to me. But then the more I thought about it, this was, I think was 1999 or 1899. The more I thought about it, when I play menu-based games all the time. At that point, like me physically thinking and doing stuff makes it interesting. My fiance watching it puts her to sleep. So I think it's one of those things where I should really play it on it. The barrier of entry in terms of cost really wasn't that much. Fallen Legions Revenant. This is a sequel to the Fallen Legions games that came out a while ago. And reviews of this have been mediocre because a lot of people had thought that this would be where they propel the series forward, and they decided to take it, presumably, in a new direction because it deals with a lot more political intrigue stuff. And they say it falls flat because they went with this whole weird undead thing or something. I purchased it used from Gamefly, and I haven't played the original one yet, but it looks cool. And these days, with the way game prices are, you can't really tell. You kind of have to pick and choose your battles. And then finally, and I haven't opened this one yet, Pokemon Snap. And I've really hearing a lot of mixed reception on this one. A lot of people say it's great. Some people say, oh, it's the exact same fucking thing. And then some people say they didn't do enough and they didn't change enough. And then some people just said it's shit. And some people say it's great. I don't know what you can change in Pokemon Snap. It is a rail shooter with a camera instead of a gun. You are taking pictures of Pokemon instead of shooting them. Okay? I don't know what else you can fucking do. That being said, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see that Bidoof is in it. Some of you may know the joke behind the Bidoof Pokemon, but if you don't know them, I use it as a word substitute for a lot of things, so you can put two and two together. But as a kid, I remember renting Pokemon Snap on the N64, and my friend and I must have gone through that first course 10 or 12 times, just that one evening alone, trying to figure out how to get the perfect photo for Professor Oak. And it's annoying because we would just be like, it's perfectly centered. He's literally looking at the camera like, there's no other way to do it. And then he'd be like, barely acceptable or whatever the fuck it was. But it was fun. And it was exciting to find, like, Pokemon evolving and just seeing, like, if you throw berries at a certain thing, a certain Pokemon would show up. And, as kids-ish, we were in high school, it was just really fun because you'd be like, oh, dude, like, that's really what it was. And the people who've enjoyed this say it's very much that. And I don't know what other people were expecting. Maybe a photo mode, like on the, that they do in like certain PS4 and 5 games. I don't know. It is Nintendo. You have to keep it in mind. Nintendo goes to the beat of their own drum, whether you like it or not. And you just got to take it for what it's worth. I haven't popped it in yet, but that's because I am currently playing Fahrenheit and Super Robot Wars X or Cross. So I think this will be a palate cleanser because as of this recording, the second, it's Aono Kiseki, or Trails of Azure, finally has an English patch available. And there is a very large rigmarole to get the game, to purchase the game and to get it running. So that's what I am currently doing, and I am even debating on doing those before I go back and finish Cold Steel 4. But I don't know yet. I bought it digitally from some weird website based out of China. So I haven't received it yet, so there's really nothing to show. But I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I guess that's been it for this pickup video, and I'll recap everything in the month, I guess. And we'll take it from there. I've been Alex, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.